Max Verstappen and Mercedes have undoubtedly been one of the hottest topics in F1 recently, having talked about potential collaboration as early as 2026. Sky Sports F1 Italia dropped a bombshell with their latest statement regarding this development of events. But is Mercedes truly going to drop a bombshell on the Drivers' Championship by trying to lure Verstappen for 2026? Or is this just the beginning of setting the ground for negotiations that will be held next year if the developments continue to be the same as they are right now? The belief of Verstappen joining Mercedes was just a fairy tale not that long ago, especially after April's denial by Toto Wolff, who said there's no need to flirt with other drivers if you're happy with your lineup. However, the position of the Austrian team principal changed a lot, even before the latest report from Sky Sports F1 Italia that talks are in a concrete place between these two parties. There were a lot of signs that a move of Verstappen is a real possibility. We don't have to look further than the statements of Wolff and Russell. If Verstappen is available, there's definitely something going on behind closed curtains. Add that to the troubled performance of Red Bull and the Austrian team scoring 0 points on their home soil, and you have the perfect recipe for the activation of Verstappen's infamous exit clause. And this is why the Italian outlet believes that Verstappen and Mercedes is more or less a done deal. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And according to the long report that shocked the F1 world, Max has already agreed to working terms with Mercedes. There's a bigger obstacle that needs to be tackled down, making the board of the Silver Arrows agree to this blockbuster move. You'd be giving up on a driver who you raised to this level, groomed him in Williams for a couple of years, just to give him away as a finished product to your rivals. This is why part of the board is still indecisive when it comes to luring Verstappen to their team. If that is the realistic goal of Wolff's continuous statements about exploring the market while having a race winner on his team ready to put pen to paper on a new contract. Elaborating on the current situation with Verstappen and his current lineup, Toto Wolff said, "When you look at the situation we have with Kimi and George, we have a perfect lineup that we very much enjoy, that we believe is the future. At the same time, there is a 4-time world champion that needs to decide what he's going to do in the future. As a team principal, you need to see where that is going. In order to plan right for the long term of the future, you've got to understand what other people will do." Even in Austria, Wolff was quite adamant about the entire Verstappen situation. It's just flirting, and nothing has changed. It all depends on how they act. As Toto said, there are two approaches to this. You can flirt, or you can have conversations. Now, a couple of days after this, there is a report that Mercedes is having concrete talks about Verstappen being brought to the team. And this is where things get a little bit interesting for our liking. You know you have a very good project on your hands from 2026 onwards, and Verstappen is not feeling comfortable with Red Bull at all. So, do you act on this and make the boldest move in F1's recent history? If you ask Verstappen, you'll get a very interesting answer on this entire situation. A diplomatic wording that isn't confirming nor denying the links to Mercedes. Talks are definitely taking place, but with what seriousness? That's up to us to wait and find out. Elaborating further on this situation and how he might end up in Mercedes, Verstappen said, "I do not have much to add to that. The more I say about it, the more it will be reported in the media, and I certainly do not want that. I determine my own future." A lot of factors as to why this topic is relevant could be found in Verstappen's uncertainty and Red Bull's downfall. From winning the championship in the third fastest car on the grid to eventually not finishing in the top 3 in the Drivers' Championship, it's a massive swing in Verstappen's competitive insights. And as Newey said, being the driver he is, Max will always chase the fastest car or try to utilize the most from what he has in his hands. The Dutchman is currently doing that with Red Bull, but there's only so much he can do with his magical talent and ability to adapt to anything that's being thrown at him. Let's not forget that the new regulations are taking place from 2026 onwards. Mercedes is dubbed to have the upper hand compared to everyone on the grid because of a simple reason. They've dominated the previous big engine change in 2014. They're known for building reliable and fast engines. And now that the aerodynamical aspect won't be as important as it is in the current era, Verstappen has a lot to think about on his mind. Of course, none of this is proven because we're yet to see how the cars are going to behave on the track, especially considering all the negative comments from Leclerc and Verstappen. But the regulations are happening and everyone needs to adapt to the circumstances. And from this point of view, they seem like a further downfall for Red Bull. The uncertainty of the Austrian squad is making Verstappen believe that a future outside of Red Bull is possible, and he is not wrong for that. But what is worth mentioning is that Mercedes might play very smart here and not engage in direct talks for 2026, but potentially from 2027 onwards, since the new regulations are a big question mark to everyone. The Brackley-based squad could very well know that a move for Verstappen for the next season might be too unrealistic of a move. So from their point of view, it's going to be a victory if they'll be able to draw his attention and lay a ground for conversations from 2027 onwards. Yes, Helmut Marko and Christian Horner deny heavily that there is any link to Verstappen leaving Red Bull because of performance-related clauses in his contract. But if he doesn't leave now, I doubt he'll leave ever again.